My husband's ex asked him to donate sperm after their son died, and he said yes. However, I later learned that they had preserved embryos from their past relationship years prior, and she is currently expecting a child from one of those embryos. Hello everyone, my husband, 40M, and I, 33F, have enjoyed a joyful marriage for the past 3 years. Prior to our relationship, my husband fathered a son with his previous partner. I entered my stepson's life when he was just 2 years old. This year, he reached the age of 6, and we shared a wonderful bond. Although the biological mother, BM, and I were never close friends in any sense, we maintained a polite and respectful demeanor during our infrequent interactions, with no conflicts arising between us. My husband and BM similarly upheld a courteous, respectful, and communicative approach focused solely on their son's well-being, without extending into friendship. Our family dynamic followed a parallel parenting model, which functioned effectively for all involved. Approximately 4 weeks ago, my stepson suffered a tragic and abrupt passing due to an infection. The impact has been utterly heartbreaking for the entire family. BM has been particularly shattered by the loss. As a stay-at-home single mother, her son represented her whole world and reason for being. While my own sorrow is profound, I recognize it pales in comparison to the depth of her pain, and I genuinely feel empathy for her situation. Naturally, my husband is also profoundly grief-stricken. I have strived to remain supportive, acknowledging the unique grieving process required for both as biological parents. Just 2 days ago, my husband informed me that he needed to broach a sensitive topic. He revealed that BM had approached him with a specific plea. She asked him to serve as her sperm donor via IUI/IVF, driven by her intense longing to mother another child and her wish for that child to share the same genetic father as her late son. He conveyed that he was not only open to this but actually inclined toward agreeing, though he emphasized the importance of considering my perspective on the matter. At that moment, I struggled to articulate my emotions clearly, but they were overwhelmingly negative. I requested time to reflect on everything. My husband and I have been actively attempting to conceive our own child over the recent months, making this revelation even more personally challenging and painful. I believe I am already resolved that I cannot accept my husband fathering another child with his former partner. That said, I am contemplating proposing that we provide her with monetary assistance to explore other fertility pathways that exclude my husband's genetic contribution and, frankly, avoid entailing 18 years of shared parenting responsibilities. I am uncertain about what BM and my husband envision for co-parenting arrangements in such a case. Furthermore, given that BM is 41 years old, the likelihood of success involves significant financial investment and time with potentially no positive outcome. In summary, I am reeling from shock. I feel a sense of disrespect and anger, yet I also comprehend that this extends beyond my own feelings, as both are grappling with unimaginable bereavement. I would greatly value objective advice from those uninvolved in our circumstances. In particular, guidance on expressing my opposition firmly without escalating into major conflict. Edit. My sincere thanks for the initial responses thus far. It feels surreal, as if this ordeal belongs to another person's life. The continuous surges of shock and emotion make rational processing exceedingly difficult. I view empathy and compassion as core strengths of my character. Therefore, I am grateful for comments affirming that maintaining a resolute no to enabling this scenario does not contradict those values. To elaborate, I am independently financially secure, and my husband and I had previously allocated a substantial amount earmarked for child support. Even absent this development, I feel a moral duty to extend some or all of those funds to BM, as they were always designated for her and our son. I intend to continue reviewing additional replies. Thank you once more. I plan to converse with my husband this evening, conveying that pursuing this now is unsuitable and that prioritizing professional grief support should come first. Update 1. Gratitude again for the candid perspectives on my predicament. These days remain largely hazy, and articulating my concerns while absorbing direct counsel has provided some grounding. I took proactive steps on an aspect within my control. I contacted my personal therapist for a referral to a couples counselor specializing in child loss bereavement. Fortunately, we secured an appointment this very week. Upon returning home from work yesterday evening, my husband entered our bedroom in tears, profusely apologizing. He had confided in his father earlier that day about BM's proposition. My father-in-law, to his credit, vehemently criticized the absurdity of the idea. My husband and I engaged in an extended conversation lasting into the early hours, during which he acknowledged and articulated that his apparent enthusiasm for BM's request stemmed from displaced emotions. He described how, over the past 4 months, he had been deeply immersed in excitement about building a family with me and picturing himself as a father to 2 children, creating confusion amid the overwhelming pain of losing his son. BM's proposal caught him off guard as well. Facing someone in such acute grief, pleading for aid or a resolution, no matter how illogical, can cloud clear thinking. He responded positively to the therapy session and appeared eased by it. This gives me hope that it will serve as a foundation for navigating these intricate, contradictory sentiments. We concurred that he should cease all communication with BM while still evaluating appropriate short-term or one-time financial aid, consulting legal advice to ensure everything remains above board. I understand some view the financial offering as peculiar, but given our resources, I feel compelled to offer suitable generosity during this transitional period. We also decided to pause our own family planning efforts until adequate time and therapy have transpired. Additionally, regarding feedback on BM's stay-at-home single mom status, I included that detail solely to highlight her complete dedication to her son. She served as the main caregiver, and the child support arrangement enabled her to remain home full-time, providing a comfortable but not lavish lifestyle. Would I make the same choice as someone career-oriented?
No.
However, it was her right, and I respect it. Truthfully, my knowledge of BM as an individual is limited, but I know she nurtured a compassionate, humorous, and intelligent boy who received immense love and care. That is what truly counts. Emotions remain profoundly unsettled, to put it mildly. My husband and I are expressing appropriate sentiments to one another currently. The practical outcome remains uncertain, but I hold optimism that we can progress united. Update 2. I have been touched by numerous thoughtful, empathetic, and constructive comments and private messages from my initial postings. For efficiency, I am updating here for those inquiring, as the turn of events is quite startling. I discovered that my husband withheld the full truth regarding BM's request. In reality, during their relationship years ago, he and BM had cryopreserved embryos, and she intended to utilize them. I was completely unaware of this history and probably would have remained so had BM not achieved a successful implantation. She is now in her first trimester. Consequently, my husband was compelled to disclose everything. The anguish encompassing the last 4 months defies description. That concludes the update. I am at a loss on multiple fronts. Thankfully, I have a reliable therapist. Comments where Opie has replied. Comment 1. So, he consented to her using the frozen embryos without informing you, only revealing it now after successful implantation? I cannot fathom your current emotions, but what about your own plans? Were you still trying to conceive? OP. Yes, I am now reevaluating much of what he shared about his history and ongoing interactions with BM. It appears there may have been a long-standing agreement allowing her to use the embryos at her discretion, irrespective of our stepson's death. Strangely, I suspect she assumed I knew about it. Indeed, we halted our attempts following the passing. Naturally, pregnancy now would be unthinkable. I agree it's wise, yet I feel deeply humiliated, like an outsider in my own marriage. I am furious, profoundly saddened, and sorrowful for the child to come. Comment 2. Oh dear, I am truly sorry. I had hoped it occurred without his awareness. While I grasp that BM and your husband are mourning, this constitutes a monumental lifelong choice from which he excluded you. You entered the relationship accepting your stepson. That was your informed decision. Here, however, you were denied that agency. What implications does this hold for your marriage? What is his explanation? OOP. He claimed he never anticipated meeting someone like me and feared losing our relationship, so he compartmentalized and hoped circumstances would align. It all resembles layers of deception at this point. I desperately wish this had surfaced without our stepson's tragedy as the trigger. Grief acceptance is far from reached by anyone. I intend to step aside, allowing my husband and BM to proceed without my involvement. Comment 3. How did he believe he could conceal this indefinitely? Though your husband and his ex are bereaved, this essentially disregards your marriage vows. He deceived you. Secondly, will he now attend prenatal appointments, be present at the delivery, and assume 50% custody? You consented to the initial child. This is wholly separate. Has he deferred your family startup because managing 2 infants simultaneously is overwhelming? I feel outraged for you. I genuinely thought resolution came with your prior update. Salvaging the marriage might only be feasible if he relinquishes parental rights as a donor and omits his name from the birth certificate. OP. I am embarrassed by the optimism in my earlier post. I am determined to initiate divorce proceedings as soon as I can muster the strength to leave bed. I no longer feel capable of step-parenting or being a spouse.